Hey there YouTubers, how you guys doing? Today I'm going to do my review on the AGA T2. I'm going to actually show you a few little things I've done to this to keep it from having a normal AGA T2 post popping through the bottom insulator. But first, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Of course, I got to take a couple of vapes off it. Right now it's built at 0.51, 0.52. It bounces between the two. If you looked at my other video, you could see it was 0.51 at that video. But I've done a few things to it. One, I didn't do this, but it has had the air hole drilled out in it. Come on, focus. There we go. It's had the air hole drilled out in it. It's also had the deck drilled out so it will hold a 3/32 inch stainless steel cable with a little mesh on it. God, that wick needs to be clean, don't you think? Well, I gotta drain it anyhow, so I could take well, I don't have to drain it, but I guess I can drain it and take the wick out and show you guys a few things that I've done to it to keep it from shorting out when the bottom insulator gets pushed in too much. And basically the center post will cut through the insulator. So I'm going to quickly drain it. And I'm going to dry burn it to get the wick completely clean. So when I do take the center post out, it's not so bad. Dry burn this bad boy because it does need cleaned. And I am running it on my M16 right now, not my little box mod. Gonna sit here and dry burn this thing, that way I can at least clean the coil up and everything. And it does have somewhat of a hot spot in it right now, but yeah, this coil did need clean, so now the coil's clean on it, I can actually take it apart. Now at least get the center post out. In order to get the center post out, you gotta take the wick out. That way I could show you what I've done to it. Of course, needle nose pliers, because this thing is going to be hot right now. So I'm going to take off that nut, which is hot. Whew. Should use this needle nose pliers to take it completely off. I'm going to take the ground wire off. Which I know that ground wire is probably hot as hell too. Now the ground ain't as bad. Pull the wick out. And put the wick here. Then I'm going to take the other two little nuts off. And they're not going to come loose, because I tightened this all up while it was on a mod, so I'm going to put it back on the M16 here. Tighten it all down. Now I should be able to get there we go. Got it loose. There's one down. There's both the nuts down off that. So let's do a little bit of a close-up. Take a paper towel to it, clean it up at least a little. That way you guys can look at it with just the deck right now. And I could actually show you guys the deck where it's been drilled out. As you can see, stock holes are that hole there and the one on the other side. This one here is the one that's drilled out. That will fit a 3/32. When I got this from a friend, it was leaking a little bit. I had to put a new O-ring in the center, on the center post. But the biggest thing about these, which a lot of people had issues with them, is it messing up the O-ring on the center post. Well, the bottom insulator, that one right there. Well, I basically went to Ace Hardware, which is my local hardware store, and bought two different types of things, which I'm going to pull one out. The black, well, I'm going to pull the black one out because it's the same thing. Crap, what did I just do with the... Oh, okay, it's right there. Basically, what it started out looking like was like that right there. Well, I took a piece off it, cut it really thin, small, put it on the end of, and this is the big end where it's right there, that end there. I cut that little piece there off and I shaved it down where it looks just like that. That tiny little piece. And I put it on the end of my post, and then when I push the post up in, instead of this little piece pushing into the rubber grommet, instead of that tiny little piece there pushing into the rubber grommet, that little piece there, oh, come on down. Now you have that all pushing into the rubber grommet, which prevents it from pushing that rubber grommet up in, and the center post sticks out a little bit. And you can also put it on like this here. M16 here has a floating center pin, which means I can put it on here and tighten this mod completely tight, where this thing is not coming off unless I loosen the mod up. But I have it set up to where I can do that with it. Now to push this rubber grommet back down in a little. Put everything back together, put juice back in it. But overall, it's a really good performer. I have it set at 0.52 ohm right now. Well, between 0.52 and 0.51. So it's hard to tell exactly what ohm it's at. But it's fairly good. And what I like about it is I can tighten this stuff all the way down, because that center post is pushed all the way up, as far up in as it will go, and everything's so tight right there that there's no means for it to come loose. And then put the screw back in it, the ground screw. Secure the ground back down, and put the nut back on to capture the positive. And what I like is I can tighten this positive down all the way, as tight as I can get it. and it's not going to come loose. Now, I might have changed the ohm again because you never know. So I'm going to pull it off the mod, put it on my ohm meter, and see if I change the ohm on it at all. Yep, I changed it. Wow. Exactly 0.5. Woohoo! Exactly 0.5 ohm. It's 8.4 amps. So tightening it down all the way like that gave me a little bit less ohm, but I like it. Daddy likey. So put the juice back in. I sucked out of it earlier. And make all that noise. Put the top cap back on. Take a couple of vapes. Make sure I have the lock ring unlocked. And make sure you have your wick saturated before you take a vape. That was a dry hit. Really good tank with the way it's set up right now. Excuse me, I gotta take a drink. That dry hit messed me all up. But it wasn't long enough of a dry hit that I was sitting here. But the way it's set up right now, with the deck drilled out to a 3/32 wick will fit in there. The hole drilled out and all that. This thing is on the spot. I mean, 0.5. And I got a hot spot. I could taste it. So when we're going to dry burn this and see where my hot spot is. Right there. It's probably because I pulled it off and put it back on. But very easy to fix that. Just by going like that a little. Which loosen that up a little bit. So get that hot spot worked out. I can always tell just by taste when there's a hot spot. And there's no longer a hot spot. See if I got a hot spot still. Sit here and hold it like this for a few seconds. Take another vape. No longer a hot spot. This thing vapes really good the way it's set up right now. 0.5 ohm. You guys just seen that. Don't have to worry about the center post coming in, cutting that bottom insulator because of the little thing I made for it. As a matter of fact, I've done that with almost every single one of my Genesis Addies now that have the floating center pin. I've done it to my AGA T3. The TD, I can't do it to it. But the T2, I may do the same thing I did to the T3. Well, to the T2 to the TD, so I could actually push it up in and all that. I think I did do it to the TD. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. But the T3 has just the homemade insulator that I cut. So the only one that doesn't have it is my AGA S. But with that insulator being able to be pressed in there pretty good and everything, and that little piece I made for this makes this thing an indestructible carry around, carry anywhere, and I've really been enjoying it. I mean, this thing at 0.5, vapes like a dream. It's not a cloud chaser device, but you know what? It's what I like. Performs like it should. Gets everything going. And with few modifications, this thing is awesome as hell. That being said, it's overall good. Bone stock, I wouldn't know. I got it with everything drilled out on it, so I won't know how one would be bone stock. But with the way this one is, the way I got it, it's top notch. Now, bone stock, I know they're a little bit more finicky. If you drill that hole in it, you gotta make sure you use a drill press or something like that, because you can throw off that center post, well, that hole where it comes in contact with your center post and will cause leaking. The person who drilled this thing out for that did spot on job. Don't know if I could get it to where you could see the tiny little gap. Well, yeah, you could see the tiny little gap once I got juice on it. There we go. There's the tiny little gap that's in there. That's all the more there is, how more gap there is on that center post. Well, the center post that comes up through. And when I got it, one of the O-rings in there was shot, and it did leak. It took me a little while to figure out what it was, but once I figured it out, I fixed it, put a new O-ring in it. I've had no issues with it since. You know, a friend used it for a while, he modified it, and he did a good job at it. If you were to modify this, you know, for 330 seconds, I recommend using, having somebody that has a drill press or something like that, so when you do drill it out, you don't drill into it where there's them threads there where it gets messed up. Overall, the way this is sitting right now, I love it. It's a really good Genesis. Matter of fact, it's been my mainstay since I've gotten it. And this is the only thing I use. I got to start using my T3, so when I do the review on it, it's an accurate review. But right now, this thing's been my mainstay. I'm extremely happy with it, and overall, without modifications, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But with this thing fully modified the way it is right now, it is off the wall and one of the best tanks I have. That being said, thanks for watching. Vape on, and see you next time.